Your host, she's a lady. Oh, she's a lady.
I'm going to talk about how to fluidly up-level your career, business, and life by choosing to strategically harness more pressure. And what that means are things like getting down to the root reason for your confusion, inconsistency, stress, overwhelm, all the syndromes and all the things I touched on in my introductory talk with you guys. I'm going to explain why seeking more pressure is going to help you remove these blockages. And I'll give you my quadrilateral, Isaac, not triangular, 4 sides, quadrilateral pressure technique. And of course, the actionable plan. So, for those of you who don't know much of my story, I'll give you the brief version. I grew up in Staten Island, New York. So I tell people I'm from New York. And then when they say, where in New York are you from? And I'm like, Staten Island. They always go, okay. So you get that Staten Islander chip on your shoulder, but I think it makes us really cool. After I graduated from college with a fancy degree from a fancy school, I thought I would be an investment banker. This was in the year 2008. So I Googled how to make money online. And I learned how to make money online. And my journey, which is still continuing, of course, has taken me to this current state, which is me as a teacher, marketer, copywriter, entrepreneur, student, wife, mom, and friend to many of you all here. Award-winning, multi-million dollars. I've scaled my beauty company, Eden Beauty, to 7 figures in its first year and made a lot of mistakes in that process, which I'm going to touch on during my talk. And now one of the highlights of my life, my professional life, is teaching and mentoring other copywriters, entrepreneurs, and friends. In one special case, I, with one conversation, took a copywriter who was not making any money, just quit an in-house job, to making $10,000 in a month. And I have these fancy degrees. I got my master's in fine arts from Brooklyn College, which is a very elite program for poetry. And the reason I'm very proud of that accomplishment is because, one, I was the only capitalist there. I was able to pay for it all with money I earned online. No loans, none of that stuff. And more often than not, I will, maybe except for Tim, beat all of you guys at a game of No Limit Texas Hold'em, which hopefully we'll play some at my house later tonight. And when I play craps, which I don't advise, I do always put the minimum bet on the hard 6, and I'll tell you why later. But all that nice stuff aside, I think it's so interesting, the similarities between Glenn, Stefan, Amber, and myself. We have this problem. Not to blame our parents or anything, but here's the impact my parents had on me. And it's not all their fault. They do the best they can. My dad is a chronic challenger. The only way he could or would get me to do things would be by telling me I can't do them. And then I became very good at doing them. And my mom's got personality disorder. She also would only say I have potential and nothing else. Never say I was meeting it or coming close. And in fact, as I got older, I made a game out of telling her I love you and seeing if she would say it back, and she never did. So of course that created some sort of beliefs and stories in my head. Things like, if someone doesn't challenge or criticize you, they don't love you. If someone is kind, they're soft and weak. If I admit my flaws or shortcomings, then I am weak and unvaluable. Really important part. You cannot succeed without beating yourself up, beating yourself into it. The pursuit is useless without the win, similar to how Glenn said earlier. And somehow, even when I do win, I am wrong. In some way, I am wrong. I am morally broken, damaged, and wrong, and I'm a bad person. And with the whole potential piece, of course, comes that feeling of never ever being enough. Of course, these are all contexts. These are all stories, all meanings that I've derived from my lived experiences. And I've made these things be useful for me. Maybe that's why we cling to them so much, you know. Maybe that's why I was like, I have to achieve this. I have to get this next thing. I have to be perfect to get a hit of dopamine from being loved or praised. But if I'm not perfect, I won't get it. You need more of it every single time. We know this about dopamine. It gets pretty challenging. So I had to figure out something else, because those accomplishments gradually would mean less and less and less. So what I found to be a more effective and fulfilling way, for one, if I'm being completely honest, it's speaking to you guys right here, right now, for the very first time in my life, and it's incredible, so thank you. By which I'm doing this, applying some pressure to myself. But it's not mean pressure, and it's not scary pressure. It's graceful and strategic pressure, and it's holistic. It's within me, and it's what I try to do externally. So, some of the things that I mean by that are not just challenging myself in business, but challenging my worldview, my ways of being, the things we talked about earlier, the contexts I create, the meanings I assign, and the stories that I tell myself. I remember to observe my observations. Externally, how do I interact with other people? How do I treat them? Do I really show up for them in the way Amber encourages you to? With love and openness, with a server's heart? Do I protect my friends? Do I keep their secrets? Or am I distracted? Am I focused on myself? Do I jump to judge somebody or jump to conclusion? And was I my authentic self when I interact with somebody? Or was I performative? And that's the tricky thing with these events, right? Because we're performative a lot. If I'm being the performance of marketing Laura. So I try to treat myself with grace. Again, removing right and wrong from the equation. And when I do feel wrong, or like I did something that I wish I did not, I treat myself with grace in that situation. What a joy for me to be like, oh, I wish I had acted differently there. That's not a reason to beat myself up and cry in a corner. That's a wonderful realization. That's a learning tool. I know that now. So I try to treat myself with grace in those situations. And being strategic, and I'm going to get into this more, but this doesn't have to be airy-fairy pie-in-the-sky shit. You could give yourself prompts for it. You could give yourself exercises, challenges. And I'll show you what those are in just a little bit. The one more win syndrome. Copywriters are notorious for this. One more win. How many times have you heard that? Then maybe I can really start to lead. Or maybe you feel undeserving of a company that grows and scales without you. Because you have to work hard. You have to work all the time, or else you don't deserve it. Which we know cognitively, hopefully, that that's not true, but we fall victim to it anyway. And we seek the skill as a band-aid to fix this problem. I'll go through some ways to remove those blocks of core in just a moment. Another skill or trait that people want is that they want to be better at asking for help. They want to be better at implementing the things they hear and learn. And it would make sense if you want that skill. If you're dealing with the fact that you're never trying anything new, if you feel uninspired, if you don't take any leaps, if you're guarded in your interactions with other people, awkward networking occurs with this also, with this inability to ask for help. On the outside, others never feel like they really know you because you're not asking them anything. They don't get to communicate to you. And you oftentimes become disillusioned and bored with your work. So you jump around from thing to thing. There's not much focus and there's not much vision. So you want the skill to ask for more help, and you want the skill to implement more. Well, before we do that, I would like to question the belief that your value is tied to knowing everything. Maybe even worse, that if it gets revealed that you don't know everything, you're a fraud. You knew it all along. And now here you are, admitting to not knowing everything, asking a question, saying, I don't know about this, and I knew I was a fraud all along. This is hard shit to tackle. This is why this is the real meat. This is the real meat and potatoes here. Here's a big one. Confidence. I want more confidence. I want better confidence skills. I want better networking skills. I want better self-esteem. I want to feel more worthy. Sure. If you're feeling like you always need another win, you know you have a confidence issue somewhere. If it's hard to network and interact with people, introverted or not, you're like, oh, it must be my confidence. If you don't follow up with the people that you do meet, you're like, oh, it's because I'm shy and I have poor confidence, so I don't follow up. Perfectionism, wanting the hit. Your confidence hurts. I have to be perfect. It's a performance. And I'm not getting any ideas. Because when you're bogged down in all of this, it's hard for ideas to flow to you. So you feel like, I don't really get ideas. I'm not an idea person. So what's the blockage there? This is a big one. The belief that external events, so my mom, maybe doing poorly in school, maybe getting picked on as a kid, being the fat kid. All of those things, those experiences that we all can relate to, we all share something like this, those have damaged us permanently. We are broken. For me, it's I'm wrong. We are wrong. I am damaged and wrong. And if I believe that, well, of course my confidence is going to be shit. And of course I'm not going to follow up. Of course I'm going to feel awkward networking because I'm not being authentic. And the belief that because these external things have done this to me, have rendered me permanently this broken, bruised thing, only something external can fix it. So the perfectionism. So the other win. Continuously looking for that other hit without realizing that you are already whole. We all have shit, you know? We all have pains. You saw it in all of our talks. That was unplanned. I did not ask Glenn and Amber to open up about that stuff. They didn't know I was doing it. We all have nearly the same story. So yeah, we all have shit, but we're all already whole. We're all already whole. And when you know that you're whole, you can network and meet people, ask them questions, listen to them, introvert or not. You can follow up with them, introvert or not, because you know that you're whole. Next one. I need clarity. I need more clarity. I need to know how to focus. Sure, if you suffer with shiny object syndrome, you might feel like you need more clarity. If you're so busy and overwhelmed and spinning 30 different plates, you might feel like you need more clarity. If you're inconsistent, oh, I work really hard for a month or two and then I disappear. Or maybe that time frame is shorter. I work for a week or two and then I disappear or I don't feel like doing it anymore. Different from a break, by the way. Different from a planned break. Of course, with all that going on, you would experience burnout. And of course, with all that going on, you wouldn't feel inspired, you wouldn't take leaps, you wouldn't get new ideas, and you wouldn't be creative. And when you do work a lot on all the busy work, spinning 30 different things, you feel guilty for it. Weird double-edged sword thing happening. You get to punish yourself twice, lucky you. So what do I believe is really going on here? First of all, we lack clarity because we've become accustomed to getting esteem from others, that external source. And there are a lot of external sources out there. So of course you're not clear. I want my mom to say she loves me. I want my dad to be like, oh, Laura did it. I want my daughter to be proud. I want all of you here to be proud. I mean, that's great and all, but of course I don't have any clarity then. I want what everybody else wants. The belief that clarity is like having blue eyes or brown hair, that it's a trait. Some people are good at it and some people are not. That's not true. Clarity is a skill that you practice. You need the bicep curl of clarity. And of course, I'm going to show you some exercises for that in a moment. And as I touched on earlier, focusing on wants instead of yearns. So what do we physically want to have versus what do we yearn for our identity? And so some of the stuff we worked on in that worksheet right there gets you closer to not having this shit. And that's why I decided to lead with that. And one of the most important things is that you couldn't possibly have clarity if you're in judgment of everything, if you're judging other people, if you're judging yourself, if you're judging your performance. How could you possibly have clarity? You're too busy judging everything. So how do we remove these blockages? This is deep shit. This is important shit. Of course, I mentioned wanting to be a physicist. Now we have like a real ass physicist. Here's the formula for pressure. It's force over area. Force could, of course, be broken down. That's Newton's second law. F equals ma, mass times acceleration. And area is length by width. So what does that mean? Here are the levers you could pull to increase pressure. Force, which I'll define as the desired impact, enthusiasm, and reach you have for something. So how could you invite more force into everything you do? A good example is me. Here, this is force. How can you increase the rate of speed? Acceleration is not just speed. I could have actually broken it down one more time into the formula for acceleration, change in velocity over change in time. So you have to keep getting faster and faster and faster. And of course, you decrease the area. Apply more pressure to a more condensed spot. I was talking with Arya last night, and I asked him what one of his intangibles are. Why does he think he's so successful? I have more, but we'll pull those levers on these types of pressure. And I'll just dive into our first one, which is language pressure. Descriptive versus generative language. This quote was attributed to Buddha. Happiness doesn't depend on who you are or what you have. It depends on what you think. Do we agree with that deep down in our hearts? Happiness doesn't depend on who you are or what you have. It depends on what you think. Do we agree? And I relate that to language because we think in language, and I'm partial. Descriptive language, not right or wrong, and occasionally useful, but backward thinking, reactionary by definition. This happened. He looked like that. It's not really pointed towards the future. It's not really an idea. You're just describing something else. It leaves you at the mercy of what you're describing. Doesn't, must have been, blank happened to me, I didn't have a choice. There are thousands of examples of this. And even more important than when you verbally say these things is when you think them. And that is when you have to say, oh, I'm going to observe my observations. That's it. One little shift, one little removal from your thoughts. Here's my classic example. I don't have time. Oh boy. If I'm in a line, I hate lines. I hate waiting in line. Who doesn't, right? But I really don't. I really can't stand it. So I say, I don't have time. I don't have time for this. Well, here's a better way to say it, which I'm practicing, because I do this shit. I say, I do have time. But what I want to be doing with my time is different. Now I have power. Now I can, is there anything else I can do while I wait in this line? Can I give Amber a call and check in?
Yes.
Now I like waiting in line. Now the line could take an extra 10 minutes because I'm on the phone with Amber, you know? That creates expansion. I am powerful. I'm in control. I'm not at the mercy of my lack of time. Nothing really changes when I'm stuck in the line, except for what I decide to do and invite solutions to the whole situation, which is an example, of course, of a distinction. I've made a distinction between one reality and another. If I walk in a forest alone, I have an example that I like more. If I go out and look at the night sky here in Arizona, which is normally quite beautiful and you can see a lot of stars, if I look at that alone, I see a bunch of stars. Maybe I recognize Venus or a constellation or something. If I'm out there with an astronomer and he tells me this is this and this is that, he's created a lot of distinctions for me. I will never see the sky in the same way again. Pretty much all of learning is just creating different distinctions. And so there is one little example with the time. So on the other end of the coin, we of course have generative language. Forms the present into the future. I now declare you man and wife. It's insane. Through just our words, we've created a new future. And we do this constantly. We have the ability to. If you and I make plans to go out for lunch, we've created a new future, right? Where we go out to lunch. So some little phrases you could try to welcome more into your life that are generative. I wonder, could we try? Is it possible? I'd like to explore. I care about. What's important to me is, and of course there are millions of these. So these are the types of phrases I'm welcoming more and more into my life. So when you're observing your observations, here's the question. It's pretty simple, fortunately. Is my language, both the said and unsaid, being descriptive or generative right now? And is it serving me? Is it working for me? Another part of language is your promises and your authenticity. Who here in the past 48 hours has made a promise or commitment to someone or something that they did not keep? If you place so much value on your language and on your words, this will become easier if you treat your promises like diamonds. Because instead of saying, okay, yes, I'll do that, and it might have been something that you want to do, but especially when it's something you didn't want to do that you said yes to anyway, I would like you to instead say, I understand you want blank, and I'd like to know blank. Or I understand you want blank, but what I need is blank. So you're not saying no, you're not saying yes, you're just operating in the power. And I want you guys to do this to 3 people in the next month when you're asked something you don't want to do, or even something you're on the fence about. That's probably where a lot of broken promises come from. You're on the fence, you kind of want to do it, then the moment comes and then you don't do it because you're on the fence. So instead of just saying yes, say I understand you want me to fly in early in the morning and speak at your event. But what I need is some time to make a decision, to speak in the afternoon instead. That was language, of course only scratching the surface. There's a lot of language out there. Hopefully that was helpful. Now I'm going to talk about pressurizing your talent. How do we think we become more talented? More practice? Learning other ways of doing the same thing? Yeah, that could be useful. But I have a logarithmic, exponential way to increase your talent. Because it's not only about practicing your craft more. It's called embodiment. Instead of thinking, let me practice this skill of copywriting, let's say, I'm going to embody a copywriter. So for a long time, I thought I was not very good with metaphors, or mechanisms for that matter. And then especially after Stefan's meteoric rise to copywriting fame, I was like, oh crap, like I suck at mechanisms compared to Stefan. And then one day, I decided, what if I don't? What if I just embody Stefan and his ability to see and pick out little metaphors and mechanisms everywhere? And then they just started flowing to me. A great example of it was just a mimosa, just recently. I was on the bus with Scott Hallett, and he talks about a rogue wave. You know this happens in Cabo sometimes? There are rogue waves. Everybody's on the beach. A rogue wave will come, and it'll kill some people. Just comes out of nowhere. Huge rogue wave. Rogue wave! I couldn't get this thing out of my head. I was like, there's a mechanism there. There's a mechanism in rogue wave. And then lo and behold, a little bit later on, Michelle from Ageless RX was telling me about her product, and I thought of Rogue Wave, and it wasn't quite perfect, but then it inspired me to think about the moon, because the moon controls waves. And then with the moon, I thought of crescents, and I gave her a mechanism, the crescent effect. See? Now, should I have handwritten like 10 sales letters to do that? Or should I have just decided that I embody it and to listen, open my learner's ear to everything that's already around and available to me? I have another great example from Tiana. Tiana, can I tell the story about the church?
Yes, if I know what it is.
So I was talking with Tiana the other day, and Tiana was and is an actress also. And she told me how, for example, if you're playing a Hungarian girl from the 1800s, her acting coach would say, go to a Hungarian church. Embodiment. Just go be there. And Tiana told me she, I don't know what exactly I'm going to get while I'm there. But then when she showed up on set, she saw a stained glass window that reminded her of the church. And she was back in the church. And she became in an embodied state. And she was able to perform better. And then in that same call, Tiana asked me, should I write 5 more sales letters before I pitch this client something? I said, no. I said, you should go to the church. Go to the church of your prospects' customers. Embody them. You don't need to write 5 more sales letters. I love that story.
By the way, I have an incredibly valuable free gift for you. It's called the 6 Simple Mindframe Shifts that can add an extra 0 to your business. This guide is potent. It is something that every entrepreneurial person needs to see. Go check that out at mindframe.me.
And of course, other ways to increase your talent, friendly challenges with your peers and your competition, and teaching others. I'm going to go into a lot of detail about this in a moment, so I'm going to save it for that. Packaging your methodology. This is why we open the day with what can you teach? Stefan did not start with RMBC, did he? No. He wrote dozens and dozens and dozens of sales letters. And then when he decided, I'm going to teach some people this, he's like, well, what the hell do I do? How do I do it? And he packaged the methodology after the fact. You only put a painting in a frame after the fact. So I want you guys to reflect on everything that you do and think, how would I package this methodology so that I can teach it to somebody else? Even if you feel not skilled enough to do that yet, the very act of it will make you more skilled because now you know what you're doing, step by step. It's out of the nebulous cloud of your brain and it exists independently of you in a way that somebody else can absorb. Feedback. This was so great that Amber mentioned something similar to this in her talk. Give and ask for feedback constantly without ego. Everybody's feedback is designed to help you. And give feedback to people who are above you. You know why? What happens when they accept it? How good does that feel? So it's not just for people less experienced or below you. That would be a few of the ways you can find yourself in situations that demand your talent to grow. And a few others would include, of course, taking a stretch job, attending some exclusive event, speaking even when you're nervous, just like me, and showing your package methodology to somebody else. Okay, good so far? We've done 2 types. Awesome. I'm gonna have a sip of water. Leadership. All right, I'm gonna give you some tactical, along with removing your leadership block. I used to think I was the worst leader. Total mess. I was like, Laura, you're disorganized, your ADHD flare-ups, you're so particular, but then you don't give a shit depending on what it is. How is anybody gonna know? How's anybody gonna be able to follow you? But then I learned that I just wasn't trying to be the right type of leader. So that's why I think this part is super important. And I'll define sort of the different characteristics of each one. There are more, but these are the ones that I find kind of the most pertinent to us. I break this down into 2 categories. How this leader treats the destination and the path that we take to get there. Planned path, because of course, paths change. But a visionary leader sets the destination and then others execute the path. Others both set the path and execute the path. That's me. That's why when I'm leading a team of 10 people, it's disorganized and it's chaos. Because I just need to set the destination and let the path builders build the path and execute. I'm a big cheerleader too, so I should come in and cheerlead once in a while. Somebody who's more autocratic would do it all. Somebody who's more democratic would find pleasure in guiding the team to both. Somebody who's a coach, a little bit different, would advise and ask a lot of questions to get there. Someone who's an affiliative leader will get the team's feelings on everything before coming to a decision. And I don't know if many of us could pull off being a laissez-faire leader unless we had a bomb-ass team, but you just let them run with it. So, introverted or not, here are some ways you can assume more leadership. Create the leadership context. When somebody's volunteering in something you assume they're passionate about because they're donating their time and energy for it, how are they? They put a lot of energy into it, a lot of intention. They give a shit, they're passionate about it. So why aren't they like that at work? What's different? Different context. So what can you take from the volunteer context into your work context? Could it be a shared vision? Could it be the way your company gives back to the community? Could it be its goals? Could that inspire the same sort of buy-in that volunteering inspires? Probably. Cameron Lopez, who's been our amazing event coordinator, by the way, when I told Cameron my vision for Diamond Day, something incredible happened. It's like 5 a.m. Cam's like, ooh, and this for Diamond Day. Ooh, and I can't sleep. Diamond Day. 10 p.m. last night. I'm in here working on Diamond Day. Cam works hard no matter what. But she wasn't doing that before I told her the vision. Really amazing stuff. New context. Context shift, right? Now it's not just, I'm doing this thing for my boss. I don't really know. It's called Diamond Day. She's sort of like eccentric and it's, I don't know. Just trying my best. She knows that I want to change your fucking lives. She knows how important it is to me that if you want more, you feel like you can get more and that you deserve it. And then I started getting 5 a.m. texts. So introverted or not, it's not an excuse. There are a ton of introverted leaders out there. Just look some up, read some of their bios, see what they do. And can you consider yourself a kingmaker? Like, who else could you push into leadership? How could you gently influence others to turn around and teach, or to turn around and mentor, or to turn around and display their talents for others? I do that by cheerleading most of the time. Those all blend together. And I'm gonna have a worksheet on them in a moment. Sometimes, if you're more introverted, you prefer to be asked a question, because then you know exactly what to say. So how can we engineer you being asked more questions? What little prompts could you open up that would invite somebody to ask you a question so that you can say what you want to say? Even if somebody who is an extrovert, poor introverts, rambles on to you and on to you and on to you as they do, an introvert can say, the question I'm inclined to answer is, and it's your question. That's what you want to say. So you take control instead of just describing and feeding back to the extrovert everything they've rambled on. That's what I meant by shadows, by the way. Sort of like leadership for introverts. Now for the light, similarly, we're still creating contexts. How can you assemble a group of your peers, people both above and below you? Which subject matter would it be on? Maybe it's on the choke that Luke said he could teach us. I don't remember. Because you can do this in the spaces that you're passionate about. Remember how much I loved that so many people gave creative answers for what they would teach. You can do it there. Or you can do it in our professional settings as well. Just bring people together. Put them in a Slack group. Put them in a Facebook chat. What documentation can you create for the public? Of course, similar to what Amber said. Set your own stage. Put yourself out there. Yourself and your stuff. And of course, you gotta honestly care about the people that you're leading. This is not about me. I mean, it is about me. But it's about me wanting to do shit for you. Because of course that thrills me. And it's my sincere hope that it thrills you. Or else what's the point? Always think about new questions you could be asking the people that you want to lead. What is one of the intangibles to your success? That is one of my new favorite questions. After I asked Arya last night, and he gave me a brilliant answer. And I thought, oh my God, there's so many people to whom I would like to ask this question and hear their answers. Let's keep a spreadsheet of questions. Schedule regular teaching sessions no matter what. No matter what. Anybody in this room can offer 30 minutes of coaching to somebody else, both within and without of this room. You're gonna learn a ton when you do it, because you're gonna be like, oh, I have to explain this thing that I claim to know about. Okay, risk. I love risk. I'm a gambler. I never thought I would be. I played poker, which is a skill game. Even though there's an element of chance, a skilled player will beat an unskilled player over time. And then, unfortunately, Stefan taught me blackjack, and that all went to crap. Oh, and then I learned craps too. So I'm a risk lover, but most people are risk averse. So how do I get you to fall in love with risk? I'm gonna try. Risk is tied up in the pursuit of something, not the attainment of it, not once you have it. Once you have it, it's done. There's no more risk. There's no more uncertainty. You've got the thing. You've got your other win. But most of us would probably agree that we really enjoy the pursuit of something, don't we? We like working hard towards something. So once is nothing more than the pursuit, maybe you're a little bit more in love with risk now. And if you love risk more, that expands your pursuit. You pursue it harder. You pursue it more innovatively, more resourcefully. You get it done no matter what your means are. And of course, falling in love with risk places you legions above anybody else because you will do things that they won't. That's inherent in the definition. So that comes to my parlay plan and why I always bet $5 on the hard 6 when I play craps. Because if I win, and it normally pays like what, 6 to 1, 7 to 1? If I bet $5 on the hard 6 and I win $35, I parlay it. I leave the $35 on there to hit again, another 7x. I mean, it doesn't always work out, but I do it every time. And it's a lot of fun. And I've had it ride maybe 4 or 5 times before, a few grand on there. Wild. So what could your parlay plans be in terms of every time you get a win or every time you get a loss? You can't parlay losses in craps, but fortunately you can parlay them in life. So what would you do? I'm systematizing how every time I feel uncomfortable, I write a story about it that I'm going to share. Because in the past, I've been prone to, oh, Laura's life is so perfect, quick little image, selfie, usually, and that's it. And I don't share anything vulnerable. I don't admit my weaknesses. So I'm starting to parlay them into ways that I could share with all of you. You could all do that. Some strategic leap and risk stuff you could do is, of course, designating leaps, making it planned. What's a leap that I could do this week? Okay, what's the leap for next week? We have to accelerate it. So maybe after 2 weeks, you're writing 2 leaps per week. And now I know if you're a scientist like me, you would say, Laura, but then eventually you're doing leaps every second of the day. I would say, great, let's get there. Keep asking for more, even when you're afraid of the word no. For my copywriters who pitch clients in here, say the number first. Just say the number. Just say your price. Let them self-select. And then once somebody has said yes, which often takes much less time than you think, right, Mark? Right. You have a new minimum. You have a new minimum now when somebody's met your higher price. Never go backwards. The market has decided. One of the reasons I asked Glenn Dawson to speak today, because I've known Glenn for a long time now, and I've helped him with his copy, and he's a big copywriting and marketing nerd, and I love that about him. And then one day, fairly recently, we were on the phone, and he's telling me how much he's crushing it now and how happy he is. I could tell that his tone of voice is different. And then he says to me, I don't answer objections anymore. What? Shit. This is a new man. That was a new man. He's not cheap as a trainer. So when somebody comes up to him and they chat and he says the price, they normally balk. They go, oh, that's too expensive. And Glenn might have a few tricks in his magic bag for this, but now that I know one of them is not answering the objection, just be like, okay, you're not ready. That's pretty badass. And that's a form of risk, right? Because they might walk away. Sometimes they walk away for a day or two, but then they hit them up a week later like, no, I really need to do this. Sometimes even up to 2 years later. So decreasing the amount of objections you'll entertain. But you can make this really systematized too. Okay, this month, starting this month, I'm never answering a price objection. Somebody says it's too high, I say, okay. Next month, what are another 2 objections you add? Because we accelerate this stuff. How could the objections be more focused? 1 point and decrease the area. And I had to throw in a quick time constraint, 2 time constraints. I have a whole thing on time pressure. We all work too much. We all do too much busy work. We all dick around. So what if you gave yourself only 3 hours a day to work? What would you do? Who feels like they would actually be more effective if they only gave themselves 3 hours in a day to work? What a trip! That's insane. How would I be more effective working a third of the time? But yeah, we all know it to be true, but we don't do it. So challenge yourself to do it. As an experiment. Do it for a month. Write me an email when you've crushed it, working less time than ever. And doing 2 things at once, some time collapsing. Can you meditate and be inverted upside down? Glenn might have some good things on this. Is a commitment that I want everyone in here to make. Spend 30 minutes next week mentoring somebody else. Charge for it, or do it for free. It doesn't matter, just do it. Who needs help in blank? People will hit you up, schedule a 30-minute call, listen, ask them questions, dig deeper into the roots of what they really want, because now you're learning and they're teaching you, and then teach them a thing here and there. Why am I making you do this? It combines every single type of pressure that we've talked about today. You're taking a risk, you're putting yourself out there, you're improving your talent because you'll be packaging your methodology, you're improving your relationships with people, you're improving your language, and it all comes together in a beautiful 30-minute package, and you formed a new relationship with somebody too. That concludes my talk on pressure. I hope it was helpful.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to Diamond Day. Kate might have mentioned that she's an incredible copywriter, God-given talent, a natural. But whatever you do, do not take any chocolate she might offer you. There's psilocybin in it. That's why. Now Kate will have a line of people waiting to meet her at lunch. It's lead gen. It's good. It's good lead gen. I have to tell you guys a story. So this morning started Harry, our nanny, who we've worked with for a long time, who has known about Diamond Day for a long time, since our very first interview. No call, no show, for the first time ever. And I am losing it. I'm not often angry, but I was angry. I was yelling. And Stefan was like, just get in the car, just go, just go. We're 20 minutes away, so I had to get in the car and come over here. And when I get in the car and I turn on the car, I shit you not, there was an interview on talk radio, which I occasionally listen to, and the interviewer had just said, pressure makes diamonds. I kid you not, just this morning. It was miraculous. I nearly wept. And as somebody who occasionally likes to gamble, I do want to set up an over-under on how many times I nearly cry today. Maybe 3. I would set the line at 3 for that. In the presence of you all. That I am just so grateful for your presence, your participation, and your openness here today. So what the heck are we here to do, really? I want to inspire you, give you the urge and the ability to achieve what you want. I want to inspire you to become more motivated, your enthusiasm for something. I want to make you more ambitious. I want you to feel less guilty for being ambitious. I want you to feel less greedy when you want more. And I'm going to show you how. And I want to transform you. But let me be real, we have just one day. But I'm going to take big swings anyway. And if we get big swings and big hits and big home runs, that would be great. But ultimately, if we get small shifts, small chips at blockages like self-doubt, imposter syndrome, overwhelm, shiny object syndrome, all the syndromes. That would be great. Part of how we do that is by focusing and observing your language. We live in language like fish live in water. Your unspoken and spoken language. How you observe the world and yourself. How you observe your observations. Even just that one shift from being victim of your observations and thinking that things are the way you view them to be, to watching your observations as if they were on a conveyor belt going by you, and then deciding what to do with them. That'll carry over into how you interact with others, personally and in your businesses. And then we're gonna engineer some stuff so that you have things to do. So you have takeaways, action steps, strategies, tactics. How important are those if you're not really bought in up here, if you still have a blockage in the way? That's why I'm gonna remove some blockages for you first. And with that will come an implementation plan, and of course, I will nag you all through micro commitments all the way up to macro ones, to commit, to be open, and to execute. This all sound good so far? Pretty good plan for the day? Yeah. Wonderful. And along with all that, your ability will increase too. And before I move on to my next slide, I would like to do a quick inventory of the room. I know a lot of us love masterminds. That's why we're at this one. Who has been to more than 5 masterminds? Okay. Who has been to at least one other? Keep your hands up, please. Who has been to at least one other mastermind? And for whom is this their very first mastermind? Thank you guys for being here today. You're screwed now that you're at this one. You are so screwed. Other masterminds are not like this. I'm placing a huge emphasis on community and collaboration today. Everybody in this room was hand-chosen by me. In fact, some people wanted to be in this room, but they were not ready yet, and I had to tell them no, which was an emotionally challenging decision to make. I don't like conflict, but it was an easy decision to make because the quality and vibration of this room is so critically important to me that I had to make sure all of your accessories are in black. I had to make sure your notebooks are unlined. I had to make sure your pens have a 0.5 millimeter pen tip on them. It's the best pen. You're screwed with pens now also. You're just gonna become way more picky after today, basically. And if I care that much about the notebook and the pens, I can't let people in here who are not ready to be here. So thank you for being the ones who are ready to be here, and thank you for your openness here today. As we work on all of this stuff, what could the outcomes be? What are you here for today? And because we're limited on time, I'm gonna share what some of those outcomes may be, but I want you to visualize them at the same time. So if you could take a breath and get into a visualization state, maybe close your eyes. I'm trying to hypnotize you a little bit while we set the tone for the rest of the day. So this might mean something like making a thrilling personal net income, whatever that dollar amount is that you would like to see in your bank account. It might mean doubling the size of your business, going from 60 employees to 120, new office space, new desks, new computers, hiring staff that hires people for you. You walk into the office and you're like, oh, where'd that whole team come from? Along with running a team, you would trust them because you know that they're aligned with your vision and that they execute on your vision with gusto without you having to micromanage them or be afraid of them messing up. One of those outcomes might mean writing a book. What does it look like? Is your name as the author in a font with little feet? Or does it have no feet? Sans serif. It might mean you speaking on stage, like me, today. Everything I'm doing today is enacting the processes that I want to teach you. And I'm doing it in real time. I booked the venue. I said put a stage on it because I wanted to be on stage for a long time. So if I could do that, you could do that. And I'll show you some ways and remove some blocks that might have been holding you back from beginning to pursue this. And it might mean hosting your own event, small, big. Who's there? How do you want people at your events to feel after they've interacted with you? Do you want them to feel motivated, like I do? Do you want them to feel smarter? Do you want them to feel ready, as if they're finally ready? Those are some of the things I want. Maybe you're running your own mastermind, having a community that you cultivate and occasionally kick people out of. And ultimately, you're living and operating freely and fluidly beyond the realm of confidence, the construct, because you're just in so much alignment with who you are and your purpose and your passions. It might also mean creating your own offers, your own brand, your own company. If you've been freelancing or if you've been an employee and you want to grow, it could mean retiring a family member, your mom, your spouse, and they trust you. They trust you. They know that you are reliable and that they can leave their job because of you. And of course, it might mean buying a yacht or a Porsche or an 8-unit building or being really smart and just having friends with a yacht or a jet. All of the fun without the hassles. And going along with building the team, I just want you guys to visualize this too. Walking into your office, being handed the reports you care about, along with your coffee, the exact way you like it prepared by your assistant, who is thrilled to see you. And it may mean an automatic $30K, I made that number up, could be any number. What is the number for you? That automatically gets pulled into your brokerage account, but your money can make you money like we all know it is supposed to. And of course, with all those things going on, I have to believe you would be pretty close to a constant state of joy and clarity, right? Awesome. So, how the heck am I gonna do all that?
By the way, I have an incredibly valuable free gift for you. It's called the 6 Simple Mindframe Shifts that can add an extra 0 to your business. This guide is potent. It is something that every entrepreneurial person needs to see. Go check that out at mindframe.me.
First of all, I'm not here to inform you. I'm here to transform you because I think we'll get logarithmic and exponential gains from that versus some more information. Have you heard of the internet, by the way, and books? There's a lot of information. You have every piece of information you already need. So many of you guys wrote to me that you want to be better leaders. Why aren't you? There are hundreds, thousands of leadership books. There are leadership courses. There are leadership mentors. So why aren't you? What has been holding you back? That's what I'm going to get to by doing things like this. First, I'm going to show you that wanting more is okay. In fact, it's in more alignment with who you really are. I have a mathematical equation that proves this. I used to want to be a physics major until I took really advanced physics classes. I still like science though. We're going to show you that a thrilling level of achievement is not just possible, but with your buy-in and with your commitment, inevitable. I'll show you why that is too. I have another equation. And we'll do the tactical strategies and fill in the blanks stuff. I'll give you prompts, some of my favorite things in the world, to help you generate the action steps you need to take to get further to where you want to be. And I'm gonna do some sneaky hacks to make sure you guys stay consistent and don't just leave today and go back to your old patterns so that you don't revert to the mean after today. Sound good so far? Yeah. Woo! Good. It'll be really good as we chip away at all of this stuff. Your self-doubt, low self-worth, uncertainty, confusion, and lack of clarity, overwhelm, stress, anxiety, inconsistency, lack of trust, fear, facades, and the demon of your comfort zone. This is all the shit right here. So if we just fix some of this shit, all of the stuff we visualized starts coming towards us and us towards it. Tell me again, does it sound good? Yeah. Awesome. So, I do need a few commitments from you, as you knew was coming. This room is a confidential space. I'm gonna ask people to open up and be vulnerable, and what we discuss here today stays in the room. It is being recorded. If at any point you said something that you don't want shared in a recording, tell us, and it won't be in the recording. We're all participating in a dialogue, so don't be shy, and don't try to avoid communicating with us. And I need you guys to be open. When I hear you say, I can't, I don't, this happened to me, be prepared to be called out on that in a loving and supportive way, in a way that is meant to hold your hand and fix this for you. That ties into having your worldview examined and questioned. Be willing to fully take on what is presented here today. My talk up here is just the very beginning. Our amazing speakers have been roasted by me to bring you powerful shit. No fluff shit today. So your openness to everything we do is gonna be the greatest factor in your ROI on your time spent here today, your openness. No more "this happened to me." I think I've made that clear. And ultimately, let's remember, you will either have the results you want or the reasons that you do not have them. And I don't give a shit about those reasons. I really don't. All I want you to do is get more results. That's all I want. That's why, even though as I began talking to you today and my voice was shaking and I was nervous, I'm doing it anyway. Because if I ran out of here, then I would have a reason Diamond Day didn't work. I was too scared. Too scary. But now I'm getting the result I want, and my voice is not shaking anymore. Thank you. Thank you, it's awesome. So of course, I know I have your participation. And in the spirit of collaboration, let's remember, you do not have to offer insights or opinions or conjecture just for their own sake. If you have nothing to offer or no question to ask in that moment, it's okay. Let someone with some experience offer their say. And be prepared to listen. We're going to explore your ways of being. What do I mean by that? Your meanings. Humans are meaning makers. That is what we do. That is what sets us apart. We attach meaning to everything. Somebody looks at me and does this, I'm like, I have 10 different theories as to what that means. It's insane. We're gonna explore your contexts, just how you interpret the environment. For example, when I'm with my mom, that is a context. I act differently around my mom, probably than I do in any other situation. So that's a context. We're gonna explore your yearnings, which means what you crave for your identity. Normally, when we want something, it would be like, I want a Rolex because I know when I shake somebody's hand at a business event and they see the Rolex, they're gonna think I'm legit as fuck. So I want the Rolex for some sort of reason, some sort of story that I have. Whereas if I say I want to be embodied, I want to be fluid in how I move in the world, I want that for its own sake. So really a better way to say it would be I yearn for that. We're gonna explore how you listen. Is it with eagerness to respond? Are you just trying to wait to say your piece? Is it to immediately question or doubt? Or say, I knew that already, I knew that. Or is it to understand? Is it with the learner's ear? That'll tie into how you learn. Do you want to learn more stuff? Do you? It's not an easy yes question. I don't know what the answer is. But I know that if we change the way we think about learning, from learning more stuff to learning how to be a better learner, we will get exponential results. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. Of course, your observations, which I've touched on, but it's worth repeating. Observing how you observe. If some of you guys who haven't done that before, start to do that after today, I would be wildly happy. That would be a huge win for me. I would consider myself successful in putting on Diamond Day for you. If you just begin to observe how you observe. And your language. The said, unsaid, is it descriptive? Is it generative? Is it full of shit? And as we evaluate this stuff, and as we find out some blockages we have, I'm gonna do you a huge favor because you no longer have to think about these things, about yourself, about your observations, about your ways of being as right or wrong. They're neither. They're not right, and they're certainly not wrong. All you have to ask yourself is this working for me? Is this belief that I need more leadership skills working for me? It's a much easier question to answer. Is who you yearn to be working for you? Is how you want to move in the world working for you? And is what you want to have, both the physical and immaterial, working for you? And I invite you to participate in all of this as if your life depended on it, because it very well may. If you are afraid, fucking fantastic. That means we're tapping into something. If you're having an emotional response, be it hell yes, which I know some of you are, or oh shit, that means this is significant and this matters. And what we're doing today is important. I'm so full of gratitude. So as I mentioned, one day, Diamond Day, one day. And I'm swinging for the fences. I'm gonna ask hard-hitting questions pretty quickly, and your openness will be what gets you the biggest return. So thank you for being ready and willing and excited and scared, which you could be all those things at the same time, right? Thank you for being all of those things. So without further ado, we're gonna introduce ourselves. As you all know, because you've all read my prompt, with your name, your business or occupation, and what you would love to teach another attendee here that you could show them in 10 minutes or less. As I mentioned, you don't have to actually teach the thing. You just have to let us know what it would be. And since everybody is ready to pay a lot of attention to one another, I would like you all to jot down at least what 3 other people can teach you while they are presenting. And I have some very cool prizes to give out to those who jot down awesome stuff. Does that make sense? Yes. Are we ready for this? Yeah. Woo! Didn't anticipate that. I had no idea. You don't know what's going to happen until you put something out into the world and get the feedback, which is a lot of what we're going to focus on today. I'm going to give out some diamonds. These are raw Heineke. I want to say Heineken. A certain type of raw diamond that is mined in New York. I want to give one to Tiana for telling us her phrase when I put her on the spot for that. Thank you. Thank you for that. And Chris, can you just hold up your notebook and show everybody the notes? Yeah. Just flash through the notes you took on everybody's introductions. This was incredible. This was incredible. Did you get everybody?
I missed a couple names.
It was nearly everybody. Just hold it up in the air so they see like even one page of it.
Read my writing.
Analyze your. He had 3 pages. So just for volume, I'm giving you a diamond. Here. And can anybody else share 2 or 3 people that they wrote down that they're interested in learning from? Who wants to go?
Lana has a way to travel anywhere in the world for $100. I would love to know how to do that.
You got another?
Oh, yes. Ella, how to make a good first impression as an introvert. Very interested in that. And then Ron, how to play chess. Not because I anticipate going to prison, but I did play chess with my dad over Thanksgiving and he crushed me, so I would love to know some strategies.
Woo! Thank you, Tim. Oh, thank you, Kim. Anybody else want to go? Okay, Matt.
I really want to talk to, I forget the name, I'm so sorry. Yourself. Sorry? James, yes. For the quick business connections. I've had a lot of connections. It seems like where I get pulled into things very fast and it comes to those sideways, so I think you'll have some great tips on that. I want to talk to yourself, the Instagram lady. I have been because like, I have a lot of people come to me who are like more beginners, like they need to build that following first. And then
You did write down those names, right?
Yes.
Okay, then you get a diamond. Right. But if you didn't write them down, I wouldn't give it to you. Okay, more diamonds to come later. Stay tuned. We're going to take a break in just a minute, but before we do, I want to say when you enjoy the coffee back there, that was sponsored by Sapphire Media Group. I'm super duper grateful to them and their sponsorship today, and their folks here in the back. Thank you so much. Sapphire Media Group is one of the largest fastest growing media buying agencies for the year 2020 and 2021. They're local right here in Scottsdale, and they do things other media buying companies will not do, which is test your offer on a CPA, CPM, or CPL basis. Basically, that is performance-based. You don't have to pay out of pocket for them to test it because they're so freaking smart at scaling the winners that the losers don't even matter. So like every $1,000 they spend in testing, they like make 50 or some crazy amount. Ask them. So ask them about that, even especially if you have working offers, and if you have new offers that you're rolling out and you want to test. They're just an incredible, incredible resource to go to. They'll also give you feedback on how your funnel is doing and where it's breaking. Like nobody else does this shit. So I'm hooking you up with them today. And they're hooking us up with coffee. So thank you. Like Matt and Fort, can you guys stand up real quick? Yeah, so they know to go to. Yeah, go to those guys. Thank you. Thank you. We're gonna do a 5-minute break before our first official presentation with Glenn. So enjoy some coffee. Thank you again, Sapphire, for that. And we'll see you in a bit.
YouTube thinks it knows you super duper well. They think you know which video you should watch next. Click over and see if they were right. I'll see you over there.